Welcome back to This Day in Scottish History. I'm your host, Colin MacDonald. Today, we turn our attention to one of the most influential books ever written, an inquiry into the nature and causes of the wealth of nations, first published on this day, March 9th, 1776, by the Scottish economist and philosopher Adam Smith. This monumental work laid the foundation for modern economics and fundamentally changed how we understand markets, trade, and prosperity. And if you're curious about other fascinating events that happened on this day in history, be sure to check out my blog at bagtownclans.com/thisday. The link will be in the description. To understand the wealth of nations, we first need to understand the man behind it. Adam Smith was born in Kirkcaldy, Fife in 1723. He was a bright and curious child, and his academic journey took him to the University of Glasgow, where he studied moral philosophy under Francis Hutcheson. Later, he continued his studies at Balliol College, Oxford. Though Oxford was then seen as a prestigious institution, Smith found it lacking in intellectual stimulation. He returned to Scotland, where he would go on to shape the world of philosophy and economics. Smith became a professor at the University of Glasgow, lecturing on logic, moral philosophy, and political economy. He was deeply influenced by the Scottish Enlightenment, a period of intellectual and scientific progress that saw thinkers like David Hume and James Hutton challenging old ideas and shaping new fields of study. Smith's first major work, The Theory of Moral Sentiments, published in 1759, explored human nature and ethics, arguing that sympathy and self-interest coexist within individuals. This laid the groundwork for his later ideas on economic behaviour, but it was The Wealth of Nations that cemented Adam Smith's legacy. Published in the same year that the American colonies declared independence, the book was a revolutionary text. Smith attacked the dominant economic system of the time, mercantilism, which held that nations could only prosper by accumulating gold and silver through strict government control of trade. He argued instead that free markets, where individuals pursue their own self-interest, lead to greater overall prosperity. One of Smith's most famous ideas is the concept of the invisible hand. He suggested that when individuals act in their own economic interest, whether as producers seeking profit or consumers looking for the best deal, they unintentionally contribute to the greater good of society. In other words, market forces naturally regulate themselves without the need for heavy-handed government intervention. This idea became the bedrock of capitalist thought, influencing economic policies across the world. Another key principle in the wealth of nations is the division of labour. Smith illustrated this with his famous example of a pin factory. Rather than one person making a pin from start to finish, dividing the tasks among multiple workers drastically increases efficiency and output. This concept would later become a cornerstone of industrialization and modern economic production. Smith was not, however, an uncritical champion of unchecked capitalism. He warned against monopolies, corruption, and the dangers of businesses colluding to manipulate markets. He also believed in the importance of public goods, such as education and infrastructure, which he argued the government should provide. His nuanced view of economics was far more complex than the simplistic free market advocacy that some later thinkers attributed to him. The impact of The Wealth of Nations was immediate and far reaching. It influenced political leaders such as William Pitt the Younger and later economists like David Ricardo and John Maynard Keynes. It provided the intellectual foundation for free trade policies, shaping the development of modern economic systems in Britain, the United States, and beyond. Even today, Smith's ideas continue to spark debate and inform economic policies worldwide. Adam Smith spent his later years in Edinburgh serving as the Commissioner of Customs for Scotland. He remained deeply engaged with intellectual circles until his death in 1790. Though he never saw the full impact of his work, The Wealth of Nations remains one of the most significant books ever written, its influence enduring through centuries of economic and political change. Thank you for joining me today on This Day in Scottish History. I hope you've enjoyed this journey into the mind of one of Scotland's greatest thinkers. Don't forget to check out my blog for more historical events at bagtownclans.com/thisday. Tune in tomorrow for another fascinating tale from Scotland's past. I'm Colin MacDonald. Hasty back.